Welcome to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where enduring wisdom meets the strength of presence, and where we uncover the truths modern society refuses to teach men. Today's video is titled, "This broke her ego, not her heart," and what you're about to hear may sting. Not because it's harsh, but because it's the truth most men aren't told. We live in a time where validation is currency, where attention is power, and where many men unknowingly fuel a woman's ego, not her emotions. You may think she was heartbroken when you walked away, but more often than not, what actually broke was her pride. In this video, we're diving deep into the psychology of ego, emotional dynamics between men and women, and the silent power of masculine detachment. You'll learn how your strength in silence, your decision to walk away, or your refusal to chase wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. And that clarity broke her illusion, not her heart. We'll break this down into 4 powerful chapters, filled with ancient wisdom, real-life examples, motivational truths, and hard-earned lessons every man must know to lead his life with purpose and strength. So if you're tired of being emotionally manipulated, if you're done seeking closure that never comes, and if you're ready to embody the grounded energy that women respect, not just desire, this video is for you. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to join the Stoic Golden Tribe, and share this video with a brother who needs to hear this message. And drop a comment below to let us know. Have you ever walked away only to realize she cared more about control than connection? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The illusion of connection versus the reality of ego. There's a difference between being loved and being useful. Most men don't realize this until after the silence, after she pulls away, or worse, after you finally stop chasing, and the shift in power exposes something unsettling. You thought she cared deeply. You thought she was hurt because you stopped texting, stopped calling, stopped trying, but pay close attention to what happened next. She didn't reach out to understand you. She didn't try to fix the emotional connection. She tried to get your attention back, not your heart, just your presence. That, brother, is not heartbreak. That's ego fracture. Let's break this down. In today's hypersocial, hyper-validated world, many women, not all, but many, have been conditioned to seek attention more than connection. Social media, dating apps, and cultural messaging have shifted the game. Every like, every DM, every "you up" text becomes part of a hidden scoreboard. And when you, as a man, pull back your energy, she doesn't mourn the relationship. She mourns the loss of that power over you. It's not that she misses you, it's that she misses being the center of your world. A woman doesn't cry when she loses a man, she cries when she loses control of the man. Let that one sink in. The ancient Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you stop feeding the emotional loop, you reclaim your frame. When you stop reacting, you stop rewarding manipulation. That's when the illusion crumbles, and her ego, not her heart, takes the hit. Because deep down, she didn't expect you to walk away. She thought you'd come back. She thought your need for her validation was stronger than your self-respect, but when you stopped reaching out, when you didn't respond with anger or weakness, when you stayed calm, you became unpredictable. And in the world of ego games, unpredictability breaks control. Take Daniel, a man I recently spoke with. He dated a woman who seemed deeply invested, texting constantly, asking for his time, even speaking about the future. But when Daniel started setting boundaries and focusing more on his personal goals, her tone changed. She said he was emotionally distant. She pulled back, hoping he would chase, but he didn't. Instead of reacting with neediness or fear, Daniel leaned into his purpose. He worked out harder, started a new business, and meditated daily. Weeks passed, then came the call. She wasn't crying, she wasn't apologizing. She just wanted to know why he was so calm, That wasn't heartbreak speaking, that was bruised ego. When you reclaim your attention, you shift the dynamic. You become a man she has to earn, not just keep around. Your silence becomes louder than any words. Because it's not silence from weakness, but from strength. You're not ignoring her, you're choosing yourself. That's what breaks the ego, because women who are used to attention don't know what to do with a man who doesn't beg for it. You stop being part of her gallery of admirers and start becoming a mystery she can't control. In ancient Japan, the samurai practiced a concept called fudoshin, the immovable mind. A samurai could not be swayed by emotion, praise, or fear. He had to remain rooted, grounded, and still, even when chaos surrounded him. That's you now, your calm presence, your decision not to react, your ability to hold your center while she spins in confusion. That's what breaks her ego, because she expected drama, she expected weakness, she expected the old you. Instead, she met the reborn you. Don't let society fool you. Being emotionally grounded doesn't make you heartless, it makes you wise. You don't need to punish her. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove your worth. The moment you stop proving and start moving, she realizes she was never in control. She only had what you allowed her to have. And now that energy, that masculine energy, has returned to its rightful owner, you. Drop a comment below if you've ever seen her ego break louder than her silence. Chapter 2. Attention is the currency of the ego. Here's a truth that most men don't understand until they've been emotionally drained. What you give freely is rarely valued, especially when it comes to your attention. For a woman operating from ego rather than emotion, your attention isn't nourishment, it's leverage. It's not that she's in love with you, it's that she's addicted to the version of herself she sees reflected in your eyes. And when you pull back that mirror, when you no longer react, pursue, or validate, that's when the facade starts to fall. Think about this. If a woman is used to men always giving her compliments, chasing her, liking her posts, DMing her non-stop, what happens when one man stops doing it? She notices. Not because her heart is involved, but because her ego just lost a supply. That's what you were to her, an unconscious ego supplier. It doesn't mean she's evil or manipulative. It means she's human and living in a world that rewards vanity over vulnerability. And the moment you withdraw your attention, and not in bitterness but in clarity, she feels the hit, not in her soul, in her status. Lao Tzu once wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." As a man, when you let go of the need to be constantly seen, chosen, or validated, you become infinitely more powerful, because your value is no longer defined by how much you're needed. It's defined by how much you no longer seek approval. And here's what's even more shocking. When you stop chasing her, that's often when she starts chasing you. But be careful, because what she's chasing might not be you. It might be the feeling of control she lost. Let's say you were texting a woman for weeks. Conversations were flowing, emojis flying, maybe even a few phone calls. Then, she pulled back. Slower replies, shorter answers, and, finally, silence. Most men in this moment panic, they double text, they call, they apologize for things they never did wrong, all to reignite her attention. But the wise man, he waits, not out of pride, but out of principle. He respects his energy too much to beg. A few days later, her name pops up. "Hey you," or "Sorry I've been so busy," or the classic, "Thinking about you." What changed? Nothing except that your silence reminded her of her ego's fragility, and she needed to see if she could still get your attention. That's not love, that's ego rehab. Real masculine energy isn't loud, desperate, or constantly available. It's calm, intentional, rare. A man who gives his attention to everyone is no different than a man who gives away his money carelessly. Eventually, he's broke. And worse, he becomes easy to replace. But a man who gives his attention sparingly with purpose and presence is a man women respect, not just desire. You don't need to chase. You need to build a life so rich and disciplined that any woman who enters it must meet your standards, or leave quietly. There's an old saying, the one who cares less controls more. Now that doesn't mean being cold or manipulative, but it does mean this. Your absence, when it's rooted in purpose, is more powerful than your presence when it's fueled by need. Women feel the void, especially when that void used to feed their sense of importance. When your attention is gone and you don't explain yourself, you don't justify, don't chase, don't collapse. That's when she realizes the truth. It wasn't your love she was addicted to, it was your validation. And now that source is dry. Here's the hard truth every man needs to embrace. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Every time you reward cold behavior with more attention, you reinforce her belief that she is the prize and you are the pursuer. But when you respect yourself enough to step back, you send a different message, not in words, in actions, in silence, in focus. You redirect your energy back to your mission, your health, your brotherhood, your future. That's not weakness, that's warrior discipline. Understand this clearly. When you stopped calling, when you didn't reply, when you chose purpose over pursuit, it wasn't her heart that broke, it was the image she had of herself, the one where you always came back. And when that image shattered, so did her control. Drop a comment below if you've ever seen her confidence vanish the moment you stopped feeding it. Chapter 3. The power of walking away without looking back. There's a moment in every man's journey when he realizes something life-altering. It's not that she didn't love you. It's that she didn't value you. And that, brother, is when the real shift happens. When you stop asking why she didn't stay and start asking why you ever waited. Walking away isn't a sign of defeat. It's not bitterness, pettiness, or revenge. It's self-respect. Because the most dangerous man in the world isn't the one who fights for her attention, it's the one who doesn't need it. You don't lose value by leaving. You prove it. Let's be brutally honest. Most men believe that staying, explaining, and fixing things is how you show your worth. But here's what women instinctively understand. Value doesn't chase. Value doesn't beg. Value doesn't wait to be chosen. When you walk away with calmness, not chaos, it sends a signal louder than any argument. It tells her, I will not fight for a place in someone's life who doesn't recognize my presence. And that shakes the ego like an earthquake. Think of a high-level CEO. Does he chase investors who undervalue his company? Does he beg customers who walk away? Number, he builds, he sharpens, he reinvests in the vision, and the world notices. As a man, you are the CEO of your life. If someone undervalues your presence, you walk, not in anger but in authority, because you know what you bring to the table. And a woman who is operating from ego can't stand that, not because she loves you, but because she thought you'd never stop trying. The Spartans were known not just for their strength, but for their emotional discipline. They were trained from childhood to endure pain without complaint, to speak little, and to show no desperation. One of the highest insults among them was to beg. Why? Because to beg is to declare that your value comes from outside of you. So when a modern man walks away from a woman who plays games, who withholds affection, who manipulates through silence, and he does it with peace and power, he becomes the modern Spartan, and she feels it in a way she didn't expect. The difference between closure and control. Many men fall into the trap of wanting closure. They want her to explain why she left, why she changed, why she lost interest. But the truth is, most of the time she won't tell you, not because she can't, but because she doesn't have to. She knows you'll wait, she knows you'll check in, she knows you'll leave the door open, just in case. But the moment you walk away without needing closure, you take back control. Because what you're really asking for isn't closure. You're asking her to validate your worth. And that, my brother, is your job, not hers. When you walk away and never look back, she starts to question everything she once assumed. Why didn't he react? Was I not enough? Is he with someone better? Did I overplay my hand? You don't have to say a word. Your absence becomes your message, your silence becomes your power, and your refusal to return. That's what finally breaks her ego, because she realizes that her control was temporary and your growth was inevitable. There's a rare kind of energy that comes from a man who has truly let go. It's not cold, it's not cruel, it's complete. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has seen the truth, chosen peace over pride. That man doesn't check her stories, he doesn't stalk her feed, he doesn't wait for her to come to her senses. He's gone, spiritually and emotionally. And she feels that, not as heartbreak, but as a gaping hole where her ego once sat comfortably, fed by his attention. Now, she's starving. And the only man who could have fed it no longer serves. You don't need her to see you, you need to see yourself. The most life-changing shift for a man happens when he stops needing to be seen by her and starts finally seeing himself. You are not her project. You are not her audience. You are not her emotional safety net. You are a man on a mission, and anyone who can't meet you with clarity, respect, and presence is simply not ready for the level you're rising to. You don't have to hate her, you just have to outgrow her and leave her ego in the past, right where it belongs. Drop a comment below if you've ever walked away, not to prove a point, but to protect your peace. Chapter 4. From her ego to your evolution. The legacy you build. Every time you choose peace over chaos, discipline over desperation, silence over reaction, you're not just breaking her ego, you're building your legacy. Because the journey of a man isn't just about what or who he walks away from. It's about who he becomes after he lets go. You thought it was a loss. You thought her walking away, or you having to walk away, was the end of something sacred. But now you see the truth. It wasn't the end. It was your beginning. Here's a hard truth wrapped in wisdom. Sometimes God removes her not to punish you, but to prepare you. She left so you could rise. She ignored you so you could confront your need for approval. She pulled away so you could pull inward and find your true worth. That kind of emotional pain, that's your wake-up call, your rite of passage, your moment of becoming. Because if you had stayed in that dynamic, if you had kept feeding her ego, kept chasing, kept explaining, you would have shrunk yourself just to keep the peace. But peace isn't found in giving yourself away. Peace is found when you finally choose yourself. Let me tell you about David. He was in a situationship with a woman who never fully committed. She'd flirt with others, disappear for days, and return when she sensed he might leave. He kept trying to be understanding, kept proving himself, kept making excuses for her behavior, until one day, something inside him snapped, not in anger but in clarity. He realized he was becoming a man he no longer respected. So he cut all contact. No goodbye, no final message, no long explanation. 6 months later, she texted him, "I miss us." But there was no us anymore. David had changed. He had built muscle, launched a business, surrounded himself with high-value men, and started speaking with confidence and conviction. He didn't reply to her message, not out of pettiness, but because the version of himself that would have answered no longer existed. In ancient Greek philosophy, Heraclitus said, "Character is destiny." When you develop the character of a man who refuses to be used, who values himself, who walks in purpose, your destiny changes. You attract different women, you build different friendships, you command different respect, because you're no longer the man who settles. You're the man who chooses, wisely, deliberately, powerfully. And in that transformation you finally understand, she was never the reward, you are. Her ego broke because you stopped being her mirror. Now it's time to look in the mirror yourself. What did you allow that you shouldn't have? What part of you was willing to be breadcrumbs when you deserved a full meal? What was the wound in you that mistook emotional games for affection? Answer those questions, not to blame her, but to free yourself. Because real masculinity isn't just about walking away, it's about learning, evolving, and never walking back into the same version of yourself again. You see, the world doesn't need more men who chase. It needs more men who build, men who walk with presence, men who don't argue for their value. They live it. Men whose silence isn't emptiness, but depth. When she remembers you, she won't remember your last text. She won't remember the arguments. She'll remember that the day you walked away, the ground beneath her shifted. Because it wasn't her heart that broke, it was her illusion of control. And in that moment, you became unforgettable. So let this be your turning point. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to protect it. To build a life so full of purpose, peace, and power that the old version of you would stand in awe of the man you've become. She may have lost a man, but you gained everything. Drop a comment below if you're building a life that no woman can distract you from. If this message hit home, like the video, share it with a brother who needs this clarity, and subscribe to the Stoic Golden Tribe, where we don't chase trends, we uncover timeless truth. This is where men rise, and this is just the beginning.